Hello,
Welcome back.
I'm Nicole,
And I'm Megan.
and this is a Synchronicity podcast. We change your brain to change your life. We give you new ways of looking at certain things so that you can make a choice to change patterning you were given in childhood to become a more functioning adult.
Yeah, we basically change your neuroplasticity with or without the help of microdosing. We think that psychedelics are very helpful in changing, but we realize they're also not for everybody. But we've been huge in the psychedelic movement over the last couple of years. But we started this channel really to just show you that we're not just take a pill and fix it kind of people. We actually have a lot of knowledge and understanding of the way the brain works and the way the human works and just how to put in basically the new computer program. So we give you a lot of that information here in a different set of ways, all over the place. But we just have a vast amount of knowledge. So we share that here. So for those of you that are new, thank you. For those of you that have been following us for a while, we're super grateful and we're just glad to be here and happy that people actually like to listen to what we have to say. So there's a ton of gratitude. But today we wanted to talk about a really big issue in our culture, and that's nice guy, or what we call wuss syndrome. There's this common misconception that women want a doormat. And the feminist movement has kind of made it this very outspoken, fuck men, fuck the patriarchy, da 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 da. Are there issues in the patriarchy? Yes. Are there issues with men being toxic? Yes. There's also issues with women being toxic. That's not a sex problem. That's a psychological or mental issue that needs to be addressed. This is not a sex war. It's a mental health war. And we need to reframe that in people's brains. We're facing mental health issues due to trauma and PTSD over the course of the last, probably what I would say 60 years, since the First World War. Actually, that's been longer, but so First, Second World War, here we go. I can do math. But anyway,
It's close enough.
It's just become this propaganda against men and scapegoating of men, which has caused them to collapse into their very feminine side and be these nice, people-pleasing kind of wuss wimps, like it's not attractive, and they think that that's what women want. Well, I'm here to empower you that that is not what a woman wants. That's actually in her feminine. If you are a wuss, you are not a masculine man, and you cannot give the feminine what she needs. And, again, this is a mental health issue, and that's what I believe most feminists have is severe mental health issues. Sadly, you kind of see that in the when women are when they're fighting for abortion and they're covered in blood and ripping fake babies out of their vaginas. There's some crazy shit that goes on, and it's like, you're fighting for the right to, essentially murder. It's, again, I do not believe that the government has the place to tell a woman what to do with her body, but I do not agree with murder. That's just me. I was brainwashed and Nicole will touch on this too, I was brainwashed for a lot of my life, not really understanding the mental health stipulations of abortion and what it actually does to the woman and to men. We're actually going to have a client that works with us come on and talk about, he had a ex-girlfriend, I think it was a girlfriend, go through have an abortion and just the psychological ramifications that had with him. It's important to talk about these subjects in a very non-emotional way because it gets so emotional. But it really needs to be understood that there are ramifications that happen. Huge ramifications. It's one of the few things that we really struggle helping women with is, the regret and the mental health issues after abortion.
Well, and to circle back around, when you're a nice guy and you're collapsed masculine, you're allowing this to happen because a man in his masculine would never let a woman commit murder. So that's a totally different, we could tangent all day about abortion. But in regards to this whole nice guy syndrome that we're seeing in culture, our society right now, it's not, it starts all the way back to the feminist movement because these women we're seeing it even still to this day, cherish their sons, and we don't have strong masculine protecting their sons from the mother, and so the mother just eats their masculinity, turning them either into a per turnus. If you want to know more about that, please refer back to our podcast. It was the Peter Pan podcast, where we actually like break down the psychology of what happens when a mother eats a little boy's masculinity. And so really what happens psychologically at the age of 11, a man becomes a man, and his mother has to start respecting him. So then he can go through life looking for a woman to respect him. If he's cherished, he then becomes a nice guy and has to go back and undo all of, ideally the cherishing, right, that his mother did, and regain back his masculinity. And so what we're seeing is that these little boys are growing up to be men that want to be cherished, and they're pretty much either most of them are doormats, and they don't take up any space, and they're scared of women because of their fear with their mother, or they're extremely charming, which is you get a lot of times like the per turnus, and you're seeing that they're like overly charming. They live this like kind of Peter Pan dream life, and they have no responsibilities. Men who are in their true masculine know exactly what they want, and they will do whatever to get what they want. Little boys, on the other hand, don't know what they want. And you could be a total little boy, nice guy, wuss in a grown-up man's body. It's very rare nowadays, I think, more and more that people are talking about this. More and more men are taking back their masculinity, and stepping into that give, protect, and cherish. And they actually reject being cherished by feminine or being mothered by the feminine. But it's a cultural epidemic that's happening, and very few people are actually talking about it. But you're seeing it a lot on social media. Like a lot of these spiritual influencer men, they're not men. They're just kind of like a free-for-all, like free sex, free love, free. And that's not masculine. Masculine is very much about goal-oriented, how to make money, how to protect his feminine, and also wants to provide and protect. So back to the abortion culture, a man in his masculine would never allow for a woman to give up a baby.
True, and I don't think that, in my opinion, the majority of women don't want to have an abortion, right? It goes back to like hookup culture and her not having a dad that cherished her, right, and made her love herself more than she loves a man. Because if you love yourself more than you love a man, you're not sleeping around. And, you know, the majority, I know that there are always outliers, right, exceptions to the rule, but the majority of women that have abortions are in a bad situation where a man's not showing up and doesn't or can't provide or any of these things. Nobody grows up. It's kind of like being a stripper or a hooker. You don't grow up saying, you know, I want to have an abortion. I want to be a stripper. I want to be a hooker. Like, it's of the same vibration. You know, we just have men that are like, well, I'm not ready to be a dad, or, you know, I don't have money for that, or da-da-da-da-da. And then the woman kind of panics of like, oh my gosh, because she's in such a vulnerable position. And I understand that it's easy to blame the man in that situation and be like, well, fuck him, he's not showing up. Or, you know, panic. Again, it's a huge thing. I really understand the psyche behind it. But my question is like, how do we stop this? Because nobody wants to be in that position. And how we stop this is that men are men and women are women. And you're not giving free sex to men, because if you're giving free sex to men, you're cherishing a man. And then you wonder why he's not showing up when shit hits the fan. You know, we're not cultivating men to be men. And this goes back to what Nicole was saying of like, women are mothering men. And then when shit hits the fan, you know, like when you get pregnant on Oops or whatever, and they're like, oh, poor me, it's about me.
This was just fun.
That's selfish. That is not being a man. Men are selfless. They go, okay, you're in this position. What do you want to do? Like, how do I support you? Not, oh, well, I wasn't expecting this to happen. Like, what do you think happens when you stick your penis inside somebody? There's ramifications. And yeah, sure, there's birth control and all of these things. But birth control is insanely toxic. I mean, we'll do an entire podcast on that. But if you're on birth control, get off birth control, because that's step one. Like, that's fucking up your body so much. And I have 3 girlfriends just in college. They got pregnant on birth control. I don't even think works the way that they say it does, and even that you'll go into early menopause,
and the repercussions on the female body years to come is devastating. So just get off that shit and listen to our podcast when we drop one of those on that.
Yeah, and we'll go over like natural birth controls and things, because again, we just have so much knowledge. It's crazy that we have been given, so we will pass it on. But this nice guy syndrome and women being basically these like super toxic masculine energy of pushing men around and mothering them, because yes, mothering a man is toxic masculinity. Mothering is masculine. So these women that are like, oh my gosh, he's toxically masculine, and then are like, oh, let's have sex on the first date. You're a man and you're toxic, because you're actually screwing up men's mental health. That's why, the majority of millennial men live in their mom's basement and probably haven't had sex in the last 10 years because they just went to porn, because they have no respect for women, because women have no respect for themselves. And, it's just the way the world works. Talk to God, but men follow the energy frequency of a woman. They lead in the physical, but they follow our energy and our standards and our no. And we have forgotten that. We have become collapsed people pleasers that are bullies, and they have become collapsed people pleasers that are wuss wimps, doormats, and let women, wipe their shoes on the way in on them, essentially. So it's this very screwed up society, and the world works better when women know their worth and men have to earn their love. It's not given freely. I understand that women like sex as much as men do. I'm not arguing that. I totally understand that. But, I took a vow to myself a long time ago that I do not let a man in my body unless I know he loves me and is willing to give me the life that I want to live. This whole free sex thing is causing abortions. It's causing these mental issues. It's causing the incel movement. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's causing men to live in their basements. It's causing the collapse of the economy. I mean, we can trace it to anything. So if you're a man, being kind, wonderful thing to do. But when you're nice and you're a doormat, like, get help, because, we need strong men. Mm-hmm. I love a strong man. You feel safe. You actually want to have sex with them. You want to have a family with them. You want to build a life with them. These wimpy dudes that are just cower to women is so repulsive in my energy field. Like, psychologically, I understand it, but my body responds, and just like my vagina basically just goes like, no, thank you. It's true though. Well, it's repulsive.
Yeah, I think that, like, in the thing that's also happening, like the incel movement and, our generation, millennials and below, like, it's the first time where men are making less money than women, and that's fucked. Like, what is happening?
Well, they have no ambition or drive.
Right, because what's happening is, and this goes back to hookup culture. We talked about this in one of our former podcasts about, women are giving men sex for free. Well, what's happening is also, that's not only is that creating wuss syndrome, but it's also doing detrimental damage to the masculine being motivated to make money. Money is huge, and motivation is huge for men to be able to provide and protect. Men have to have money in order to protect and give to a woman. And so what's happening is that these men are collapsing. Their mothers are taking care of them, which is just fucking mind-blowing to me. But then they're also collapsing into addiction. So we're seeing men that have higher marijuana consumption, alcohol consumption, drug consumption, porn consumption.
Well, younger.
Yeah. All of that is 30s. Actually succumb to wuss syndrome. You are not a man if you are consuming large amounts of alcohol, porn,
facts.
Even a part of hookup culture. If you are a man who's on an app and you're fucking a woman every night and you have no respect for you and or her, you are a wuss. I'm sorry, but you are a wuss, and you are one of the problems because you don't want to give, protect, and cherish to a woman. And I will quote me, you will die young. Yeah. And you are a part of the problem. You are not a role model. Men are role models. and the next generation is looking at you, whether they're looking at you directly or energetically, you're setting an example for someone. And some little boy out there is looking at you being like, oh, that's what I want to be when I grow up. That's disgusting. You are a wuss and you need to get it together, because I'm done with this like little boy, like, and they're everywhere. Like literally everywhere. I do agree with Meg when she's like, oh, it's like repulsive. It's genuinely fucking repulsive. Excuse my language, but like you don't even help the elderly woman anymore at the grocery store.
Or or like move so that she can sit down.
Yeah.
A pregnant woman or an old woman.
Yeah.
No, it's a thing.
It's a fucking thing. Like be a man. And if you don't have an example, go find one. Because I know several out there, especially on social media, they are out there talking about it and they are true masculine role models. Majority of them don't go for a spiritual Steve. If he has a mala on, he's most likely not in his masculine. No offense, but it's a thing.
Well, and go read a book. I mean, there's like dudes
Fisher
on
King Woo
on our Instagram that are like, this is obviously a fake story. In business school, like, I never wrote a paper. I'm like, you obviously have never been to business school. Have you heard of a business plan? I'm like, you're an incel. You like look at his picture. I automatically know from a photo at this point in my life whether a man is in his masculine or feminine. Yeah. And I'm like,
well, and also,
you've never wrote in a business paper on did you go to DECA in high school? Like, what?
Well, and like a majority of like an MBA is based on theoretical business, right?
Yeah.
Like because it's a master's in business, you're looking at not only the statistical aspect of a business, but you're looking at all of the other things. How do you prove a theory in business? Oh, write a fucking paper about it.
I'm just saying the IQ.
Oh, and well, then, and that's also the other
they're
thing.
Playing video games, and jacking off to porn all day, and then they get around a real woman, and they're like, I mean, I swear, it's like they go cross-eyed, and drool starts coming out of the side of their mouth, and they're like, what do I do? They look like masturbating monkeys, and I've said that before. It's like this like blank look, and I mean, because men have always been terrified of rejection, but it's gotten so much worse.
It's
that
terrifying.
Like when we were in Nashville over the summer for a bachelorette party, I'm talking a stunning group of women. There was not, it's like they make fun of like every group of women usually has like an ugly friend. Our friend that got married, like somehow all of her girlfriends are absolutely stunning.
Yeah, but she's hot, and like
she is hot.
I mean, all of her.
That doesn't mean anything, because usually hot girls have ugly friends because they need to be the hottest in the room.
She's not like that though.
No, she's not.
She's not. Well, she's also, a genuinely good human.
She's an Aquarius, so that also makes a difference. But Aquariuses want everybody to be friends and be equals. So
we're gonna totally tag her in this podcast.
But anyway, it was just crazy because out all weekend, nobody got hit on, and I was just like, what the actual fuck? And then you were talking to that group of guys.
Oh yeah, I was talking to this group of guys,
nice
and they were
guys.
Like decent. They were very nice looking college guys.
Cute. Grinding on each other.
Yeah, they were
like, are you gay?
Legitimately like early 2000s bump and grind to like to the window to the wall. Yeah, Yin Yang Twins.
Great song.
Yeah, great song. We all can live back to that. I mean, I remember my date in high school literally popped a boner in homecoming because I was grinding on him. And anyways, that was sophomore year. But these boys were like grinding on themselves, and I was like, what is happening? And I literally asked one of the guys, and he was just like, oh, I'm just like having a good time with my bros. And I was like, are you into each other?
Yeah, which is fine.
Like, I mean, if you guys are totally, if you're gay, I'm all about it.
Like, And
he was so offended. I was like, I have a group of beautiful women, and none of you like want to dance with them. Like, I am beyond confused. And they had like, they were just like so insecure, and I get it, like the rejection thing, but like you're in a club and you're dancing on your own guy friends over beautiful like women. Like I was extremely confused, and they were extremely offended.
But that's what women do, right? That's what women used to do, is like we'd all dance, we wait for the guys to come over and talk to us. Now men stand in a circle and dance on each other and wait for women to come pursue them. It's ass backwards.
And it was like actually like severely inappropriate grinding. I was like, y'all should be in a gay club. Like, I mean, this is like I PG almost
personally
18.
And I love gay clubs. I mean, I have a lot of gay friends, and it's we've actually gone to gay clubs together.
I love gay clubs.
So much fun.
The go-go dancers are usually straight.
We used to go to gay clubs because then you wouldn't have the nasty creepos trying to like sleep with you or talk to you. So that's why women would go to gay clubs.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to worry about it because
Men don't even approach you.
there aren't even creepy men anymore because they're terrified of women. And I'm like, I am so confused. Like, what happened in the last 10 years?
Well, and also the other
we're not
thing,
even that old. And I'm
No.
like, this is really just strange behavior.
well, the other thing I've noticed too is walking around and like I can be a little bit more submissive by nature than Megan. Like
True.
I've always been more submissive.
Well, you're a Cancer, I'm an Aries. That
yeah,
makes
so
sense.
I've always kind of been more like meek and kind of in the corner. And like I've caught myself recently, like I always look down when I walk. Like I very rarely look up, but masculine looks up and they hunt. Like when you're
Right.
out in public, the amount of men that look down.
Men's main sex organ is their eyes.
Yeah. So like Megan and I, we go and we work at this like local coffee shop. And it's amazing to just watch and study the psychology of what is actually happening. And I can tell
I
when...
never get any work emails done because I'm just fascinated by...
Right? We never get anything done, but we're like 3 lattes deep at that point. But there's a CrossFit gym next door. And it's really interesting to watch like... Men with higher muscle mass, when they come into the coffee shop, usually are using their eyes. Now, 9 times out of 10, they have a wedding ring on.
Even when men are married, they still have eyes.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
because they don't hit on women, they're allowed. That's like, women get so mad. It's like, oh, my didn't. Unless your husband's with you, he has eyeballs. I mean, even like my boyfriends and things, like I've been in public, I'm like, wow, she's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And usually my boyfriend's like, what? Like what? I didn't even
happening?
notice, huh? Like I'm with you, or like, and that's fine. But again, we all have eyeballs. You can't expect your man just because he's married to be like, oh, I didn't see anybody like that. He's being a doormat to you if he says that, because also you notice hot guys. Don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah, well, but also then observing like the younger generation, they're usually carrying excessive fat, like they're normally larger,
Absolutely.
and they're always looking down, and they always look like fucking slobs.
Well,
Like whoa, like
Okay.
masculinity has shifted so much just in like one generation.
but that's because their alphas are failing them. So
Yeah.
you're 80% of the population, so 40% are men, right?
Yeah,
On average, are beta,
right.
and their alphas are a fucking train wreck. So they're a train wreck.
Well, it's just really fascinating. Like, I'm not being stereotypical for CrossFit. It's just an observation of like muscle mass and confidence versus sweatpants and a beer gut. Like, it's a really big thing that's happening in society right now. And I'm not trying to shame a beer gut or anything like that, but
I'll shame a beer gut.
also masculine.
Stop drinking beer.
Masculine men, they normally are very, they take care of their body. If they take care of their body, they usually can take care of their feminine.
Well, and here's the thing, feminine. And I was watching this stupid thing the other day on Instagram where it was like, I want a man that can lead, and men don't know how to lead anymore. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, can you follow? My question to these women is, can you follow? Because let me tell you something about a masculine man, and this was a very hard lesson for me to learn. They're not going to do it your way.
No.
So you want to still lead and have a masculine man, you're alpha. Guess what? Alphas fight to the death. If you don't know how to put your dick away, put your alpha away, because alpha is masculine, and be a beta and follow your man, you are not going to be with an alpha man. You are not going to be with a man that's in his masculine. You're going to marry a beta. Talk to me in 2 years when you're cheating on him, because you're going to get bored because you wanted it done your way. You are the man in the relationship, and that's what women cannot figure out. And it's like, sit the fuck down. Do you want to be happy, or do you want to be right? And I have to ask myself this all the time when I'm with my masculine man. It's like, oh, right, he's not going to do it my way. And I actually love that he doesn't do it my way, because he usually has a better way to do it. But I was raised to be a man, so that's still like a trigger point for me. And I have to consciously be like, you know what? I feel so much better when I'm just letting him do his thing, and then I go back into my feminine and I put my dick in the box, and it's so much happier in the box, and then I pull it out when Nicole and I are wanting to podcast or do our thing. Because I have been with nice guy feminine men, and it has been so destructive to my nervous system and made me so unhappy, because I wanted him to do it my way, and he did, and it fucked with me. So now when I'm with a masculine man, it's like, oh wow, this feels so much better, but I have to follow.
Well, and that's the thing is that if there is something where you're like, okay, I might have an idea. You ask, hey, can I like make a suggestion? If you do see something as a feminine, we're not talking about be a doormat. I mean, you still have a voice.
That's not what I,
yeah.
Following is not being a doormat.
If he's driving you to dinner, just have a nice conversation. Don't fucking tell him how to get to the restaurant. If he takes the longest route to get there, God. Who gives a shit?
Women in the front seat.
I hate the front seat driving. I hate it. It drives me crazy. I'm in the back of the
car and I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And like, that's what like actually a lot of our clients we talk to, like a lot of, because we work with a lot of alpha women and they're just slinging their dick everywhere. And we're just like, just shut up. Talk about something, I don't know, talk about the music that's on, or like talk about, if he brings up his day. Don't tell him how to get to the restaurant. Like, just don't. It's just so annoying.
Don't
like,
solve a man's problems.
No. And if he takes the longest way and you guys are 5 minutes late for the reservation, oh well.
Don't give him business advice.
It's fine.
Don't just worry about yourself.
You can give him advice if he asks, what do you see? Or can I run this by you? But even then, keep it short and sweet and move on.
Yeah, I would be careful of that.
Short and sweet.
Because you're supposed to be fun, not business. Yeah. And if you let a man go into his business mind around you,
you're putting your masculine.
He's going to put you in your masculine. So if he asks you about business, you can say, okay, we can talk about this for 5 minutes, babe, but then like I want to move on. So just be very careful about that, because you also want to pull men out of their business mind, because you're fun.
Yes.
You're his place to talk about the world, to, sensual, sexual. You're his happy place. Business is usually not his happy place. Right. So just be very conscious, because we guide communication of like, yes. He's going to talk about business and stuff. Just don't go down a wormhole. That's my warning.
And also this is another great thing is that if you do have a man in his masculine, he will be very much leading. If you have a nice guy, he's going to want you to take the lead. He's going to be like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what restaurant I want to go to. I don't know what time I'm going to pick you up. He probably won't even pick you up, because that's not a thing. So, those are also like red flags of like, oh, are you with a man who can plan and lead, or are you with a man who is soft and wants a mother?
Yeah, and the majority are mommy's boys. I think even men that have some masculinity struggle with this today, because mothers are still mothering instead of allowing their sons to be men. And a lot of men can't tell their moms to just sit down. And it's very difficult for them, and their mothers are very strong women. Very. But a strong woman is a man.
Yes.
I had a family member say the other day, it's like, well, I'm so strong. I'm like, well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's your problem. Because I remember when I was like, I'm so strong, and I like prided myself on that. And it's like, no, you're fucking crazy. You don't know what softness is. You got to rediscover your feminine.
Yeah, and men also are scared to lead, because women just bulldoze them and reject them and just tell them like, no, I'm not available. Okay, well, if you're not available, then you need to give another option, because that's being in your feminine. Oh, I'm so sorry, I can't make it tonight. I am available Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 5 to 7. Giving him opportunity. Don't just like railroad him into like, oh, well, now he's not leading. Well, you like literally slammed the door in his face. Like, that was not kind. And now he is not confident in this aspect, and you rejected him. And that's a huge cultural thing that we're seeing right now, is women are rejecting men and they're not even realizing they're rejecting them.
Well, it's funny because I see this a lot, especially in dating, is like, men are always waiting for the, like, when's the bitch going to come out? They like brace constantly of like, oh my gosh, she's going to get angry. Oh my gosh, when's she going to yell at me? Like, I can feel it in their field.
Yeah.
And so even when I get into an argument, or not, it's not even an argument, because there's going to be conflict. And I'll just be like, oh, okay, well, thank you for your opinion. Like, thank you for sharing, or thank you for your honesty when they say something that I may not agree with. And they're like, huh?
Yeah, they get really like
it's like they
blindside them.
There's like error. And it's so funny to watch their brain glitch, because they're so used to aggressive, mean females that when I'm in my feminine, I'm like, okay, well, I may not agree, but thank you for sharing, because I do appreciate that he can be honest with me and would share with me. I'm not going to be like, well, I don't agree with that. Why do you think that? Like, what?
That's one, that's not, mothering, and two, that's nagging.
But that's not nice to even your female friends. The thing is like, that's autonomy, and we did a podcast about it. Allow people to be themselves. It's so important that we come back into that. because we've been taught that unless somebody does it your way or believes your way, we saw this a lot in like the political scape with like politics and stuff, and even the vaccines. We saw so many people just be like, well, if you don't agree with me, you're against me, instead of, okay, well, we're a country built off of God-given rights, and God gave us our voices, and we have the freedom of speech. We have the freedom to be autonomous. We have the freedom to believe differently and that to be okay. Just like you may not agree with what we said about abortion or things like that. You may be super pro-abortion. And the thing is like, okay, like I totally respect women's right to choose. That's not my argument. My argument is like, let's look at the bigger picture here of what is causing so many abortions. And for women to even be in this position, this is what I want the humans to start asking, because I don't even want women to have to be in the position to choose. That is a very fucked up state to be in. And we can, find the source and start shifting the consciousness so less women find themselves in this kinds of positions, is why Nicole and I are here. I don't want to tell anybody that they're, this is not right, or you can't do that, or you're going to... No, I want you to really think about why society has gotten to this place and how we can shift it so that women... is there a worse place to be than choosing the life or death of your child? Like, that's awful. I would not wish that. And again, I've had 3 friends, and some of them I've, supported, mentally and physically when they had to make the choice of not, having their child. And like, I wasn't going to shame them or tell them like, and I don't judge.
Right.
They did what they needed to do. And it was fucking heartbreaking to watch the aftermath.
Well, but also like talking about the other flipped coin is like, we've recently had a girlfriend who chose to keep the baby. And, in hindsight, watching her step into motherhood, watching her boyfriend, like, men are not fathers until that baby is born. True. Men will never understand what is happening because it's a complete foreign entity to them, right? Like, obviously, like, they don't have to go through monthly cycles and emotions, and like, they're so like flatlined, right? And just like they sustain like one thing with testosterone. But when men can actually, it's a challenge. If you are willing to step in and you have the confidence, the masculine will then be like, okay, if she's confident in this, I can show up too, And so it's also not necessarily like egging him on, but also being in your own truth and holding your own standard, and I know there's a lot of women out there that have succumbed to this, and like, it is awful that they have ever had to make the choice. And some men don't step in, right? And that's a very hard path for them, like the women that are single moms and stuff like that. But this nice guy syndrome is really what nice guy syndrome and boss bitch syndrome really are like what has caused these choices. And unfortunately, we have to come back to this ebb and flow of where are you and where is he in the relationship.
I just really want it because it's passive men. I would love to see a psychological study done on like women that do tell their boyfriends that they're pregnant, and then the passive men that are like, oh well, I didn't want a baby, or the actual masculine men that are like, okay, we're in this situation, I will figure out how to make this work if you want to keep this baby, and I want you to keep the baby, and I'm here. What do we need to do?
Right.
And I wonder how much that would shift. I know that there's a lot of boss bitch culture that women get abortions because, they're
picking their career.
They're picking their career and stuff. Like, I totally get that. That has a whole different, like, psychological ramification. But, it's just... Maybe just start with having sex in relationship. You don't need to be, like, married or anything, but, like, maybe have a commitment of some sort of, like, we're together and we're not having sex with other people, because I feel like that would also solve a lot of the problems.
Yeah. I mean, and overall, this whole thing is like, if you are a nice guy, we probably triggered the hell out of you. But, here's a huge opportunity, and I challenge you to step in, find a mentor, get off the porn, get off of the baddies, get off of the freaking soda pop, Coke, like...
Stop smoking weed.
Stop drinking alcohol, really? And, like... Look at your relationship with your mom, because
Stop looking at porn.
That's the porn culture and the baddie culture is really causing
OnlyFans is a
lot of masculine to collapse too.
Yeah.
And look at your relationship with your mom. Does your mom mother you still? And you're a grown ass man, because that's going to be your baseline. You know, is your mother an alcoholic? Is your mother mothering you? You know, look at that relationship and look at those patterns, because those are subconsciously programmed into you. And then from there, you have the ability to heal. And I understand, because, you know, I was so far in my masculine for so long, and actually looking at, like, I totally had the boss bitch, like, vibe going. And having to look at, like, my relationships with my parents. And I'm sure Megan can even, like, touch on this in her own journey. And still to this day, I look at them, because if I heal my core base wounds with my parents, my relationship with my partner moving forward will be healthier in with society and my business, because I'm healing the core of what is happening and what happened.
But yeah, it's just a wild world. And
wild
we're all
world.
grateful that you guys are here. And let me see if I can do this, because Nicole always does it. So
Carry
if
the
you're on Simplecast, or
Not Simplecast.
which is the podcast platform, if you're on Apple, Spotify, comment, share, like. We love that. Just if you're on YouTube, see this, Nicole, I'm practicing. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. We're babies. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or have an idea of, or something that you want us to elaborate on, please comment. Follow us on Instagram, Synchronicity_sisters or Synchronicity podcast. You can comment there. You can DM us. We run our social media, so you are talking to one of us. Usually Nicole on the podcast, me on the sisters page, but you might get either or.
Cross, yeah.
Or we're talking to each other, and because we're usually together, and then messaging you back. So you're probably getting both of us. But anyway, just join the community. We have an entire website if you want to know more about us, if you want to work with us, if you want to join some of our groups or things like that, take a class, learn more. We're grateful that you're here. And until next time, did I get everything?
You nailed it. You
Okay.
nailed it.
Bye.
Bye.